Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, thanks for listening, and this is Moments of Clarity. I'm Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about substance abuse, recovery, mental health, and especially when recovery is required at a young age, and how to cope with that, especially socializing and everything our society has kind of embedded on us. And first, I want to say hi to Ed behind the glass. Ed, hi, Ed.
Afternoon.
Thanks for helping me today and for setting up the show. He's really helpful. And we have a great show today, and we have a guest our guest is on the phone, ready to go. So our guest is the host of a podcast called The Path to Authenticity. I always have a hard time saying that. I don't know why. But The Path to Authenticity, and he is a recovery expert, and he helps so many people, and he's worked in the substance abuse field for a long time. He also had recoveries from early on, and we're going to talk about that. And I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity my friend, Tom Gentry.
Thank you.
Hi, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And
no problem.
I guess there's a train in your background. Just talk louder into the phone so I can hear you. But
you can't hear me?
I can hear you. It's just soft.
Okay. Is that any better?
Yeah, it's better. And so, so Tom, we were talking about having the show about substance abuse and recovery, and just for the listeners, just give us a little bit of feedback on your history and what led you into sobriety at a young age.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just say I always feel a little uncomfortable anytime someone describes me as an expert in anything. I have a lot of experience with this. I've worked in the field of addiction treatment and recovery for a long time. And I got clean and sober at a pretty young age. But first, can I just ask you, the last time I was on the bell, you ring the bell. Can you just tell me what that's about? What it means when you ring the bell?
It means you suck. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's every time somebody says moments of clarity or makes an actual good point or valid point, instead of interrupting, I kind of just validate it. Just
okay. All right. So I'll try to necessitate the bell off.
If you say I had a moment of clarity, I will ring the bell.
Well,
just saying.
Well, I grew up kind of in a culture where there was a lot of drinking going on, and it was sort of inevitable that I was going to end up having a drinking problem at a pretty young age, and I did. And I had the opportunity to get some world-class treatment when I was 23 years old. And partially because I actually followed the treatment recommendations and followed through, and I'm still here to tell you about it. So I literally nearly drank myself to death at 23 years old.
Wow.
And I'm the youngest of 8 kids. There's quite a bit of alcoholism in my family on both sides. I had an older sister she passed a few years ago, but at the time, she had been suffering from alcoholism and a lot of other issues for a long, long time, and she found recovery in 1995 at this facility, and then a year later saw me in the depths of my despair and alcoholism and helped me get help. So thank God I had that kind of family support. And it was also really, really useful to have a family member, as a person in early recovery, to have a family member who was also in recovery and understood kind of what that means to live that way. And it was really helpful.
Yeah, it helps to see somebody as a positive role model, as well as, especially when you come from a family that probably wasn't that best of an example, that weren't setting a good example. if you have been exposed to a lot of drinking and things like that.
There was that, but also just to have a family member who kind of understood what it was like to go through all this stuff and to need to make these adjustments to survive without going back to alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just really helpful to have someone who loved me, who knew me, who had seen me at my worst, and could kind of guide me through and say, hey, you know, this is what it was like for me when I first stopped, and you're going to encounter this, and they're not going to understand that, and you know, just kind of helped me get a solid footing in my foundation of recovery from a family standpoint, which was really important to me.
Yeah, and so I want to take this time to welcome callers to call in. We want you to join our discussion today. It's 866-826-1340. Once again, 866-826-1340. Call in and join us with feedback or stories or questions that you have. And I know Tom says he's not an expert, but I think years of experience and years of working in the field makes someone really good at this. If you don't want me to say an expert, but what is an expert anyway?
No, it's okay. It's just, you know, as a recovering person, one of the things that's really, really important is to maintain a certain level of humility about oneself. And that's kind of where that comes from. I really kind of can't deny the experience. I've had some really great training. I've had the opportunity to work for some fantastic facilities over the years. There's an agency that I do some work with now called Feinberg Consulting, where I do some case management and recovery coaching. But it's just a really, really solid agency that's been around for a long time. And, you know, we're as good at that kind of work as anyone in the country. So, but one of the things you and I talked about on the phone as we kind of prepped for this, and we were talking about where we wanted to go with this conversation, is the idea of entering recovery at a young age.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard for people in their early 20s to accept that they have a problem, and then to not only that, but to socialize and to be accepted, or to have things to do that other kids are doing, other young adults are doing. In our society, a lot of kids, a lot of people, and even people that don't like to participate with drinking or doing other things or clubs or anything like that, have a problem meeting people that do things together. And it's not all the way around. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, I have friends that don't do that, and we all do. But to have that limitation on somebody that's 20 years old, that's got to be rough.
Yeah. I will say, you know, as a guy I stopped drinking at 23, I've always kind of felt like, it's hard to get sober young. I don't really know that it's any harder to do it at a young age. I think it's hard at any age, and because it's a drastic life change that you have to make. You know, there's the saying, you don't have to change anything, you have to change everything. And that's kind of true. Just your whole, the lens that we look at life through has to change pretty drastically.
Right.
And, you know, I wouldn't want to be an older
I like how you said that. The lens that we
to
look at life through has to change.
Yeah.
So you get a bell for that.
I thank you. I appreciate that. That's one I'm keeping track. But I think at any age, you know, if I was 40 years old trying to get sober, and I had a whole entire life where there was this social network that was built around drinking, that would be pretty difficult too.
Yeah.
You know, but I think why it is relevant is because, you know, in 1996, when I found myself in treatment, you know, the place was full. I was in a men's program there was only one other guy in his 20s who was a couple of years older than me. Everyone else was at their youngest in the late 30s. Most of them were in their mid to late 40s. There were some guys in their 50s. My roommate was 67 years old. There was an 84-year-old there. And you just don't find that anymore.
Mm-mm.
You don't. That's not what you see if you walk into pretty much any addiction treatment facility now to do a tour and you look around, you're not going to see anyone over 70, and you might not see anyone over 30. Kind of the age of onset of use has lowered over the years, first of all, but also the drugs of abuse that are prevalent now, the opiate addiction thing. I mean, the drugs are just, they lead to a descent so much more quickly. People kind of crash and burn. So, and you know, there's a real possibility of death.
Right.
You know, from overdose with these drugs that, you know, just doesn't really happen that often with alcohol.
And especially alcohol and opiates, the detox it can be fatal.
Yeah.
I mean, just coming off of alcohol
and you know, people don't
heroin.
know that. You know, we don't hear about this much, but alcohol, you know, it's really the withdrawal from alcohol. The brain doesn't know any difference between alcohol and benzodiazepines.
I can't hear you, Tom.
Withdrawal from
the alcohol doesn't know the difference between Xanax or Valium. Is that what you said?
The brain does.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's what I meant.
So withdrawal from those types of drugs or alcohol, you know, the withdrawal can lead to that. You know,
right. So a lot of people have to go through detox and before entering residential because of alcohol or opiates. But the drug use is so prevalent nowadays for younger kids. I mean, like they're starting in middle school now. And so the likelihood of an addiction by the age of 20 is higher now than it used to be. And it's really sad. We have a caller. Welcome to Moments of Clarity. Hi, Patrick.
Yes, this is. Hey, good.
Thanks
good
for calling
afternoon to both of you. I was just listening to getting back, I guess, out into the social climate, and I'm 43, unfortunately, but trying to get back out it's been really difficult because everything I've done, I was drinking, whether it was at the movies or at any sporting event, out to dinner. So it's been really, I guess that's been the challenging part, is to be able to step out and not, get caught up in everything. But, it's been an eye-opening experience, realizing now after being sober for a while that I can actually have fun without having to drink at every event I'm at.
Right.
So I just...
Yeah, that changes like the whole modality. A lot of people have to get used and relearn how to do everything sober. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I think one of the things that was sort of relevant for me is, I kind of wanted life to be like a big party, and to have all this excitement with everything I did. And so, I definitely had to get past that. And for me, so there's not the kind of excitement now that in any way really relates to, like, for me, what it was like to go to a concert and have a few beers, which for me was never really just a few beers or smoking.
It wasn't a few.
There's just...
Nowadays, the beers are like $12 or $24.
But what's different now is that I live in a deeper sort of way. So when I go to a concert, I'm much more engaged in that concert. I'm there. I'm attentive. It's really a deeper sort of experience, and
you can remember it the next day.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the simple part of it, but it's just so much more meaningful to me now, and I appreciate it so much more. And I think the other thing for me is that all of the relationships that I have are deeper and more meaningful than they were before. They're just not nearly as superficial. So, it's like we kind of give up some parts of life, but to me the gain is so much greater. But, the bottom line... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, finish.
Well, I was just going to say the bottom line is it's just awkward